AI has been a topic that has been blowing up lately. Not only in the art world, but also in other industries. If anyone is not familiar with the term, AI stands for artificial intelligence. It doesn't just mean like fancy tech stuff. The foundation of AI requires specialized hardware and software for writing and training machine learning algorithms. The machine analyzes previous data, patterns to make predictions for the future. Technology has been growing exponentially ever since its invention. Each technological improvement can create the next stronger generation of technology at a faster rate. There's something called Moore's Law, which states that the number of transistors on a microchip doubles every 1.5 or 2 years. And don't worry, I don't know what a transistor is either. But the meaning of this is that you can expect the speed and capability of a computer to increase every 1.5 or 2 years as well. If you see on the graph, this is basically how it looks like. AI is one manifestation of this technological growth. Some ways that you might be familiar with AI is when you call to customer service and you get a robot on the other end, or when talking to a chatbot on a product and service website, or Siri or Alexa that are digital assistants. When you use a translator, text editor, or autocorrect that has managed to recognize patterns in languages and therefore suggest changes. Or when you get navigation direction while walking, driving a car, when you unlock your phone with facial recognition. Or when you edit your own photos with these futuristic looking photos in these apps that everybody seems to have on their profile photos these days. That is also AI that has created art based on reference photos. Now it's even possible to write a text in the search bar and they will generate a photo for you based on the explanation you give it. This is what happened in an art competition. Not too long ago, there was a big controversy with an art piece created with AI. It won the Colorado State Fair annual art competition, but it was created in Midjourney, which is an AI program that turns your text into hyper-realistic graphics. And this creates the questions of if artificial art should get as much credit as art made by humans. In this case, the award was withdrawn after they found out the art was artificially made. But more and more AI art is now getting recognized. Does that mean there's less need for human-made art? AI seems like a new concept these days, but in the bigger schemes, it seems like it's rather a remix of what has happened previously. Taking a look into history might help us make sense of what is going to happen in the future. If we look back into the Industrial Revolution, we can see that a lot of people were replaced out in the fields by machines, and suddenly there were so many farmers without jobs. Many of these people were forced to go into the cities to find new jobs in other emerging industries. When the invention of photography was introduced, suddenly a lot of painters that would earn their income through portraiture were no longer needed. Why would they pay a painter to paint an image when they could just get a photo in a second? So what happened to all these people? Honestly, I have no idea. Maybe some painters went on and did other styles. You can see that after the invention of photography, a lot of new styles, more based on imagination and abstraction, were introduced. And maybe even some of these portrait painters ended up going into photography and enjoyed that as an art form. When Kindle was introduced, people were afraid that physical books would disappear. With the more affordable, convenient offers of having a digital book. We can see that ebooks and physical books sales are always a bit fluctuating, but none of them seem to be disappearing. The physical books are still very popular. I actually just bought a new physical book myself. It seems like it will never truly disappear. Another example is the introduction of 3D animation. When the technology reached a certain level of sophistication, it got cheaper to use the technology rather than paying a 2D animator to draw each and every frame by hand. It lowered the labor cost, accelerated the total production time, and ultimately made less work for the artist in larger film productions. And the 2D animators had to find work elsewhere. Now it seems like more of them are creating series on streaming platforms rather than traditional film format. In our ever-changing environment, with new inventions being made all the time, it's so important to be adaptable. If there is one thing that is certain, is that it's not possible to stop the change, as the only true thing in life is change. So change is inevitable. So the best thing you can do is to prepare yourself for the change. If you're in a field that is at risk of being replaced by AI, it's important to look at what ways you can adapt in your field. Or in worst case scenario, look for other options of how you can use the skills you already know for other jobs or services. With adaptation and creativity and finding new solutions in the forefront always. Although it's inevitable that some jobs will be fully or partially replaced by AI, it's also important to note that that does not affect all. Throughout history, mass production has only increased the appreciation for craftsmanship and artisan products. In a world where everything is mass-produced and everyone can have the same thing, there naturally starts to be a counterculture of people wanting things that are special, that are created slowly with the story and with the deeper connection to the elements. One thing that will probably never change is people's need to connect with one another, something that AI can not really fully replace. There will always be people who will appreciate to know who created the art, how their journey was on creating the art, and where they got their inspiration, what kind of processes that they go through while creating, how they think through the process. An important thing about humans are that they will always be fascinated by the way others see the world, which is really what art is about, to see and show your perspective through visions, imaginations, to let people visit your mind for a brief moment. In some cases, you can argue that it's not really about the art, but it's about the person behind it. This aspect will always be missing in a completely AI-generated art piece. It can be easy to look into the negative aspects of everything that it can take away, and most publishing media will focus on the negative to easier gain people's attention. Of course, with more being digitalized, it becomes easier for people to steal each other's art or fully copy ideas. Therefore, with any significant change, it's important to have regulations and things that can potentially be misused. But it's also important to think about how it can be used to improve and simplify our lives. AI has been used to create computer-generated shapes and patterns ever since the 1970s, really. One way you can use AI to your advantage is to create generated photos with the intention of using it as references for your own art. Maybe you need a reference photos of somebody sitting in a certain way, and it's easier to find that generating a photo yourself. You can also use it to spare time by creating AI text to create product descriptions. You can use it as an addition to your traditional artwork and create a digital and traditional collage, or simply use it as a part of the process. It's often used to create templates for branding and marketing metrics, which takes a lot of time off your plate if you don't want to take your time to learn graphic design, or if you can't afford a graphic designer. It can be used to simplify your customer service for your products, for answering genetic questions, or speed up and simplify the editing process of images and product photos. As with any tool, I think it's useful to dive into the topic and see what aspects of it that can be used to improve your own processes and benefit your own workflow. As you're still here, I might as well explain a bit about what I'm illustrating in this video. Here I'm illustrating a woman inspired by the Inuit people. They are an indigenous people who have traditionally lived in the parts of the Arctic for thousands of years. This includes Canada, Alaska, Greenland, and the far east of Russia. There are other people as well found in these areas, but I completely butchered them trying to say their names. Obviously, their surroundings are pretty cold. Therefore, traditionally, they wear clothing made from animal skins. That's because they keep warmth a lot better than other synthetic alternatives. They are semi-nomadic, meaning they traditionally build structures designed to last a season. Summers are often spent in animal ski tents and winters in ice block structures called igloos. And well-constructed igloos can be quite warm inside. Although this is more of a traditional way of living, nowadays you can see a lot of them living in quote-unquote normal houses. I watched this video of Johnny Harris, which was quite insightful, about the Inuit people in Greenland. I recommend for you to check it out if you want to see more about their everyday life, how they see the future, and how it is to live in one of the most isolated and coldest places on Earth. In my illustration, I found reference photos from older photos. Nowadays, it seems like their attire is more influenced by modern materials and way of styling. So my reference photos were inspired by more like how they used to dress back in the days. The illustration is part of my coloring book that will be coming out very soon. The coloring book will be representing a series of different cultures from across the world. You can check out the playlist if you want to see more behind the scenes and process videos for the illustration. If you want to be the first one to know when the coloring book comes out, you can go to the website below to register for the newsletter. If you have anything you'd like to add to the topic, feel free to post it down below. I would love to hear your reflections. Thank you for watching, and until next time.